General Hospital spoilers reveal that one of the most startling developments to hit Port Charles in recent weeks has unfolded quietly at first, slipping in under the radar of larger dramas, only to erupt into one of the most divisive and emotionally charged storylines of the season. It began with whispers, subtle changes in tone, guarded looks exchanged in the hospital corridors. Private conversations cut short when others entered the room. But now it has broken into the open, and the shock of it is reverberating through every corner of the canvas. The shift is unmistakable. This is not simply another lover's quarrel or a passing misunderstanding, but a wholesale change in the dynamics between Drew and Willow, and it has pulled Liz directly into the center of the storm. Liz did not ask for this role, and yet, almost without realizing it, she has become both confidant and reluctant mediator. She knows enough of the truth to see that the stakes extend far beyond petty grievances. The undercurrent here is about control: who has it, who wants it, and who will stop at nothing to claim it. Drew, still smarting from past rejections and haunted by the erosion of trust between himself and Willow, has become almost fixated on regaining his footing. What might once have been about reconciliation or romance now feels more like a campaign, a deliberate, methodical effort to reassert dominance over the direction of their relationship and, by extension, Willow's future. Willow, for her part, has changed too. Once willing to give Drew the benefit of the doubt, she now meets his assurances with a measured skepticism that is as cold as it is unyielding. Every promise, every declaration of loyalty, is weighed against the record of what has come before. Too many words have been spoken without follow-through, too many compromises asked of her without reciprocal effort on his part. Her patience has worn thin, and the walls she has built are higher than ever. She no longer flinches from saying no, and she says it with a finality that Drew refuses to accept. It is in this space between refusal and persistence that Liz finds herself standing. She is close enough to both parties to understand their motivations, yet far enough removed to see the dangerous trajectory they are on. In her quieter moments, she wonders if her presence is helping or merely prolonging the inevitable. Because every time Drew uses her as a sounding board for his next approach, and every time Willow vents her frustrations in Liz's direction, she becomes further entwined in a conflict that is feeding on itself, growing sharper and more personal with each passing day. The shift in power between Drew and Willow is not happening in isolation, it is playing out under the watchful eyes of a community that thrives on gossip and judgment. Port Charles has always been a place where perception shapes reality, and in this case, the perception is volatile. Some see Drew's persistence as romantic, even noble, interpreting his refusal to give up as proof of deep devotion. Others see it as manipulative and coercive, a refusal to respect boundaries that have been clearly set. Willow's steadfastness earns her admiration from those who value independence, but there are whispers, too, that her unwillingness to forgive may be driven more by pride than by principle. For Liz, the challenge lies in navigating these competing narratives while managing her own emotional investment. Her history with both Drew and Willow adds weight to every word she speaks, every piece of advice she gives. When she counsels Drew to slow down, to give Willow room, she sees the frustration flash across his face. When she reminds Willow of the possibility that people can change, she feels the wall of mistrust that Willow has built pressing back against her. It is a delicate balancing act, one that requires constant recalibration, and Liz is all too aware that one wrong move could tilt the entire situation into open hostility. As the tension escalates, so too do the tactics. Drew begins to edge closer to the line that separates persistence from intrusion. He appears unexpectedly in places where Willow is known to spend her time, seizing any opportunity for conversation. He couches his arguments in the language of concern, but the subtext is always there. He wants influence, he wants access, and he will not stop until he gets it. Willow, meanwhile, grows more adept at deflecting and disengaging, mastering the art of shutting down discussions before they can gather momentum. Her resolve, once born of hurt, has evolved into a kind of strategic resistance, a refusal to cede ground, no matter how relentless the pressure. Liz watches all of this unfold with a mixture of concern and resignation. She knows that both Drew and Willow are capable of better, but she also knows that conflict can bring out the worst in even the most well-intentioned people. In quieter moments with each of them, she tries to plant seeds of perspective, encouraging Drew to consider the damage he might do to whatever future he hopes to salvage. Urging Willow to recognize the difference between protecting herself and cutting off the possibility of reconciliation entirely. But her influence, while sometimes acknowledged, is not always heeded. There are times when she sees the stubbornness in both their eyes and knows that her words have been filed away, not as guidance, but as obstacles to be circumvented. The most jarring part of this shift, the reason it has rattled so many, is that it signals a broader change in the way power is understood in their relationship. Drew no longer frames his actions as part of a mutual effort, they are framed as moves in a campaign, steps in a strategy. Willow no longer speaks about compromise. She speaks about lines that cannot and will not be crossed. What was once a shared space between them has become a contested battlefield, and Liz, whether she likes it or not, has been placed in the role of someone who must navigate the minefield between them. In the days ahead, this tension shows no signs of easing. If anything, the shock of how quickly and dramatically things have changed has only solidified their respective positions. Drew is unwilling to retreat because retreat would mean admitting defeat. Willow is unwilling to yield because yielding would feel like a betrayal of herself. And Liz, standing in the center of it all, is caught between the urge to intervene and the recognition that some battles can only be resolved by those who are fighting them. Yet the longer this goes on, the clearer it becomes that the real battle may not be about the surface issues at all. It may be about identity, autonomy, and the fear of losing oneself in a relationship that demands more than one is willing to give. The question is not just who will win, but what the cost of victory will be, and whether, when the dust settles, there will be anything left of the connection they once had. For now, the only certainty is that this shock, this undeniable shift in tone and power, has altered the landscape of their relationship permanently. And Liz, though she never asked for it, remains right there in the middle, her own loyalty and patience tested by the very people she is trying to help. She knows the day is coming when she may have to choose a side. And when that day arrives, the fallout could change the course of all three lives in ways none of them can yet see. Drew is descending into a place where reason has little influence. His actions no longer guided by careful thought or tempered by the restraint that once made him a man people could trust. The change has been gradual enough to escape notice at first. But now it is impossible to ignore. Each day brings a fresh example of behavior that feels more erratic, more desperate, more obsessed than the last. What began as a determination to reconnect with Willow, to win her back in some way, has now transformed into a fixation that eclipses every other priority in his life. He is no longer a man seeking reconciliation, he is a man consumed by the idea that his connection to Willow must be preserved at any cost. Even if it means dismantling the boundaries she has so clearly set. This obsession reveals itself in subtle ways and in explosive moments alike. From the unexpected appearances in places Willow frequents to the probing questions disguised as casual conversation. From the lingering presence that refuses to leave a room until she does to the carefully chosen words that carry an unspoken threat, he will not stop. It is the sort of attention that feels suffocating, a steady pressure that gnaws at her peace of mind until it is difficult to tell where her own thoughts end and his influence begins. For Willow, the weight of this unwanted pursuit is becoming unbearable. Once, she believed that her distance from Drew would be enough to make him move on. That his pride or his sense of self-preservation would eventually lead him to let go. But that belief has been steadily dismantled by his persistence. By the way he seems to treat each rejection not as a sign to back away but as a challenge to overcome. The sharpness in his tone when she resists. The way he latches on to any small crack in her defenses, makes it clear that he sees this as a game of endurance, and he is determined to win. She has stopped thinking of his attention as romantic or protective, now it is simply invasive, a constant reminder that her autonomy is under siege. She has begun to dread the moments when their paths cross, not because she fears confrontation, but because she knows that every interaction will leave her feeling smaller, less in control. More like a pawn in a story she does not want to be part of. The change in Drew's demeanor is as visible to those around them as it is to Willow. Friends who once saw him as a steady presence are beginning to question his judgment. The calm charm that once made him easy to be around has been replaced by an intensity that is unsettling to witness. His words are deliberate, his tone clipped. His eyes sharp with a focus that seems almost predatory when they settle on Willow. And yet, he still manages to cloak much of this in plausible deniability, enough to keep some people from fully grasping how far his obsession has gone. Enough to make Willow feel as though she is the only one who truly understands the danger of where this could lead. That isolation is part of what makes her situation so precarious. The more Willow resists, the more Drew adapts his tactics. He softens when she expects him to push harder, he plays the role of the concerned friend when she tries to keep things formal. He offers help in moments when she might be most tempted to accept it, and every gesture is part of the same underlying strategy, to keep himself present in her life. To make himself indispensable in ways she cannot easily refuse. It is a slow erosion of her boundaries, a steady dismantling of the distance she has tried to maintain. Even in her most guarded moments, she can feel the pull of his persistence, and she knows that this is exactly what he wants. In her quietest moments, when there is no one to hear, Willow has found herself silently pleading for him to stop. It is no longer a matter of pride or principle, it is about survival. About preserving the pieces of herself that she fears will be worn away if this continues. She imagines telling him plainly to let her go, to release whatever claim he thinks he has on her life. But the thought is always followed by a fear that such a plea would only embolden him further. There is a part of her that suspects Drew has reached a point where even her begging would not be enough to make him stop, where her resistance, no matter how absolute, is the fuel that keeps his obsession alive. Others are beginning to notice the strain. Liz, who has been drawn into this dynamic almost against her will, can see the toll it is taking on Willow and the way Drew's focus has narrowed to a dangerous degree. She has tried to talk to him, to remind him of the damage he could do to his own reputation and to whatever chance he thinks he has of rebuilding something with Willow. But her words seem to glance off him without effect. As though he has already decided that no one else's perspective matters. To Drew, this is not about what is healthy or reasonable, it is about what he wants. And he has convinced himself that what he wants is justified. The most troubling part of all is how this obsession is beginning to change Willow as well. She has always been strong-willed. But now there is a tension in her that never fully leaves, a watchfulness that suggests she is bracing for the next confrontation even when she is smiling, even when she is trying to go about her day. Her focus has narrowed too, not on winning, but on finding ways to avoid losing more of herself. The situation has forced her into a constant state of vigilance. And that kind of pressure changes a person. It wears them down, slowly but relentlessly, until the desire for peace begins to outweigh the desire for victory. Willow has not reached the point of giving in, but the thought has crossed her mind more than once, not as a genuine choice, but as an escape from the constant battle. She has wondered if telling Drew what he wants to hear, just once, might buy her a reprieve, even if only temporarily. But she knows deep down that any concession would only tighten his grip. Would only confirm to him that persistence pays off. And so she keeps resisting, even as the weight of his fixation grows heavier with each passing day. This is no longer a simple conflict between two people who once shared a bond. It is a struggle for control, a clash between a man who refuses to let go and a woman who refuses to be owned. It is about more than love or reconciliation, it is about identity, autonomy, and the right to make decisions about one's own life without interference. And it is about the lengths to which Drew is willing to go to maintain a presence in Willow's life, no matter how much damage that presence may cause. The question now is not whether this will come to a head, but how. Will Drew's obsession drive him to a breaking point that forces others to step in? Will Willow find a way to make him stop without losing more of herself in the process? Or will this slow, grinding battle of wills continue until something snaps? Until one of them takes a step that cannot be undone? For those watching from the sidelines, the unease is growing. There is a sense that the story is building towards something explosive. That the patterns of behavior on both sides are unsustainable. But for Drew and Willow, caught in the middle of it, the endgame is harder to see. Each is too caught up in their own perspective, his driven by the conviction that he cannot lose her. Hers by the knowledge that she cannot let him win, to imagine a resolution that does not involve someone walking away in defeat. And yet, deep down, Willow still clings to one fragile hope. That Drew will see the damage his obsession is causing, not just to her but to himself, and choose to walk away. It is a hope that feels increasingly unrealistic with every new intrusion. But it is all she has left that keeps this from feeling like a fight to the death. Whether that hope is enough to change anything remains to be seen, but if it fails, the consequences could be far more devastating than either of them is ready to face. Willow is finding herself drawn deeper into a new phase of her life. One defined not by quiet recovery or tentative steps forward, but by a fierce and all-consuming determination to reclaim custody of Wiley and Amelia. What began as a flicker of maternal instinct has grown into a relentless drive, reshaping her priorities and compelling her to take actions she might once have hesitated to consider. This is not merely about winning a legal battle, it is about reasserting her place in her children's lives. About regaining a sense of stability and belonging that she feels has been chipped away by a series of painful compromises and fractured family dynamics. The adjustment in her focus is not a subtle shift, it is a clear, deliberate pivot toward confrontation and resolution. A declaration that she will no longer remain on the sidelines while decisions about her children are made without her full involvement. This new pursuit, however, is far from simple. In Port Charles, custody battles are never just about the children, they are tangled webs of alliances, secrets, and power plays. Every move Willow makes toward reclaiming her role as Wiley and Amelia's custodial parent sends ripples through a network of relationships already fraught with tension. Friends, family, and even those who once stood as neutral observers are beginning to choose sides, and each conversation carries the potential to alter the course of the fight. The process itself has become an obsession, a constant mental loop in which she rehearses her arguments, anticipates counterattacks, and replays every moment in which she felt powerless, using those memories as fuel for the battle ahead. What has caught everyone off guard is how this determination has drawn Willow closer to Michael. Their alliance, once cordial but careful, is now deepening into something more intense, driven by the shared goal of protecting and reclaiming the children's futures. They spend more time together, strategizing, reviewing legal options, and navigating the emotional landmines of their intertwined families. With each passing day, their connection grows stronger. Built not only on mutual concern for Wiley and Amelia but also on the comfort of knowing someone else is as deeply invested in the outcome as they are. To outsiders, the bond appears practical, perhaps even inevitable, two parents uniting for the sake of their children. But beneath the surface, there is a closeness developing that has the potential to shift long-standing emotional dynamics, challenging old loyalties and reigniting dormant tensions. This closeness between Willow and Michael is already sparking quiet speculation in Port Charles. For some, it is a sign of unity and strength, a reminder that family ties can still overcome adversity. For others, it is a warning, a suggestion that new alliances could disrupt the balance of power in ways that might be difficult to control. Those who have known Willow the longest can see how much this fight is changing her. She is more assertive, more willing to challenge those who stand in her way, and less inclined to back down when met with resistance. The soft-spoken patience that once defined her approach has given way to a steelier resolve. And while that strength may be necessary to navigate the fight ahead, it also carries the risk of alienating those who are unprepared for this side of her. The shock, however, lies not only in Willow's transformation but in the inevitability of the storm it will unleash. Custody battles have a way of dredging up the past, exposing long-buried grievances, and forcing people to reveal where their loyalties truly lie. Willow's pursuit of Wiley and Amelia will almost certainly place her in direct conflict with individuals she once trusted, and the ripple effects will extend well beyond the confines of the courtroom. As she leans more heavily on Michael, their shared commitment will likely intensify, strengthening their partnership but also drawing them into a spotlight neither of them may fully control. In a town where every action is scrutinized and every alliance questioned, Willow's decision to fight for her children marks the beginning of a new chapter, one that will challenge her, reshape her relationships, and test the limits of her endurance. And as her bond with Michael deepens, what began as a practical alliance may evolve into one of the most surprising and disruptive dynamics Port Charles has seen in years. Proving once again that in this world, personal battles are never just personal, they are the catalysts for change, the sparks that ignite the most shocking turns of all.